Do you sometimes feel that you lack sexual desire, that you miss the initial spark that was at the beginning of the relationship with your partner? Or even sometimes you make up excuses not to even have sex, or you want to avoid completely the subject, sex. I want to tell you that this is very normal, and most of women experience in one way or another these type of challenges. And there is nothing wrong with us, there is nothing wrong with you if you're experiencing a lack of desire, a lack of libido. We're all the time bombarded by images of women who are ready, fully ready for sex, in movies, in pornography, and that might not correspond in an accurate way with what feminine desire really is. So I want to explore this topic because I want to normalize the fact that sometimes we may feel less desire, less libido. And I don't want to say that this is the state we need to be in all the time. I totally and fully believe that we are capable of developing our sexual energy and awakening our sexual energy in such a way that is really flowing through us all the time. But it's not possible to go there if first we don't accept where we are now. So in order to change, in order to transform, and in order to really tap into our sexual energy, first we need to know where we are and accept that whatever is happening within us right now is completely fine, is completely perfect. So today I want to talk about the causes of low libido and how to really normalize that in order to accept where we are in our path, and at the same time explore what feminine desire is and how different it is from all the ideas that we have in our minds. I'm Emela Bear, I'm a sexual and spiritual coach, and I help people to connect deeply with their bodies. So today, as I said, I want to talk about this subject that I feel it's really interesting because there are many ideas and misconceptions about feminine desire and feminine sexual drive. Most of the things that we know about feminine desire are going to be from what we've seen and perceived through our life. Most of the movies and pornography show an idea of what a woman is. And most of the time, if not always, these bodies are immediately ready for sex. They're immediately open. They're immediately aroused. So there is this presupposition that women will spontaneously have desire. And most of the times that's not true. When we see and we have been told that desire should be one way, but we experience something different, then we believe that there is something wrong with us, that our bodies, our way of being, our desire is not quite right. And that's when the problems come, because we don't know how to change that, how to transform that. And I think for all transformation to take place, there's a need for self-acceptance. When we fully accept where we are and who we are, we can actually have this impulse of change, but from a place of completion, not from a place of lack. And so that's why it's really important to see where we are in our journey and why we might have experienced or we experience lack of sexual desire or very low sexual desire. There are many reasons why someone can have very low sexual desire. The reasons could be biological, they could be psychological, and also the context of the relationship we're in, because things change, so we cannot be all the time at the initial phases of the relationship. So we're going to explore some of these reasons, some of the causes actually that might be triggering low desire, and we're going to talk about these to actually see where we are and normalize that, and at the same time see what we can do about it. From a biological viewpoint, for example, menopause, it's actually one of the causes that we can experience low desire, because the levels of estrogen will decrease, and as the levels of estrogen will decrease, we are not going to have the same drive. We are not going to have the same impulse of having sex. At the same time, when the estrogen levels get low, the vagina will be actually dry sometimes. And when we experience this dryness, it's normal that when we have intercourse, we're going to experience the intercourse with a little bit more pain or discomfort. And this is something that we can totally change and we can totally improve, but just being aware that the estrogen levels will decrease and we're going to have less desire is going to put us in a position where we're going to just accept this, and then from there we can grow and choose if we want something else. I believe that we can tap into sexual energy as creative energy and life force anytime in our lives, even after menopause. So we can have really vital and vibrant sex life even after all the estrogen levels go low. Another phase that we can be in and feel a lack of sexual desire is during pregnancy and also when we're breastfeeding. So that is also very normal. Some psychological causes that may be causing lack of desire are when we feel anxious and depressed. Depression and anxiety are really connected with low libido because, as I said, sexual energy is life force energy. And when we are experiencing anxiety and we're experiencing depression, we're not fully connecting with this life force. And of course, there are many underlying reasons that may be causing this anxiety and depression that will need to be addressed in order to see what the reasons are and heal them or transform them or transmute them. And so it's very normal that in moments like that, we're not going to experience a lot of sexual desire. Actually, there is only 20% of people that feel more sexual desire during stressful moments. And maybe it's a reason why they look for sex more in order to release the tensions. But 80% of the people actually don't experience more sexual desire during stressful times. Therefore, when we feel anxious, when we feel depressed, or when we are really stressed, it's normal that the libido actually decreases. So just these 20% of the people are not the majority. Another cause that is really important to address and to pay attention to is sexual trauma. Experiences of abuse, physical abuse, or sexual abuse in any way can be the cause why in this moment in time we're not feeling high sexual energy, high sexual desire. This sexual trauma might have happened many years ago, but still, if it's not healed, if it's not addressed, that actually energy will be blocked, and we can even have associations consciously or unconsciously that sex is not safe, that sex is actually dangerous. And if that's the case, we're not going to be wanting to have sex because there's a blockage. So in this case, it's really important to address that and release also the emotions that were trapped in the moment of time. And as well, heal and seek for therapeutic advice. And another reason that we might feel lack of sexual desire is when we don't feel comfortable with our bodies or our self-image. We might feel uncomfortable with who we are and how we look, and therefore by having low self-esteem, we're not going to actually fully express our sexual energy. I talk about this in other videos where I explain why sexual energy is life force energy and also the power of creation and creativity and personal power. So we're going to be disconnected from our own sense of personal power when we're going to have body images and problems with our bodies. So it's very normal that we're not going to experience a ton of high sexual desire when we're having these issues. And also when we're in a relationship and the relationship is not really fulfilling in other areas, we're not going to have a lot of sexual drive because we're going to want maybe to be seen, to be heard. There is going to be maybe lack of communication, lack of trust in the relationship. And so since we are not in the initial phase of the relationship where everything is so exciting and it doesn't really matter who is doing what, we're going to be in a different phase. Then we're not going to be wanting to just be with our partners because we will feel like there is something else that wants to be addressed. So sexual desire is not just like an immediate impulse and we are just ready for sex. When we're in a relationship, we also want to be really connected. We really want to be heard. We really want to be seen. We really want to have a deep, connected relationship. And then the feminine desire normally arises. But so in order to address these things, and it's important to heal within oneself and also heal with the other person to see how the dynamic can change and how we can become safe to each other. It's interesting to talk about the idea from Emil Nagoski, the author of Come As You Are, where she expresses the difference between two types of desire. There is responsive desire and spontaneous desire. And she says that according to the studies, 75% of men or male bodies have a spontaneous desire, whereas only 25% of female bodies express this sexual desire, spontaneous desire. And what is this spontaneous desire? As I was saying before, what we see in the movies, what we see in pornography is this spontaneous desire. This actually normally, usually from male bodies, where we are just ready to go, ready to have sex. Doesn't matter the context, it doesn't matter what's happening really, the body is ready. And so Emily Nagoski then explains that there is actually another type of desire that is called the responsive desire, and most women experience desire in such a way, which is by response. It's not spontaneous, the desire is not there, but if the context is safe and there is preliminaries, there is care, the body starts feeling safe, the body starts feeling grounded, then we can actually express this sexual desire. And it's really interesting because in the Taoist tradition, they talk about male bodies being hot or warm and female bodies being cold. What means, and actually that corresponds with responsive desire and spontaneous desire, is that male bodies are normally hot in the sense that they don't need much preliminaries or stimulation to be really ready for sex. Whereas female bodies, most of the time, they are cold, which means that they need to be warmed up first in order to have this response to be wanting to have sex. So as we can see, sexual drive, libido is not such a simple topic. There are many ramifications and it's a very vast topic. I cannot talk about this in just like a little video. But what I want to say is that, first of all, it's very normal to experience in moments low libido and lack of sexual desire, even with our partners, even with long-term relationships, because there are maybe issues that need to be addressed. It's very normal when something is missing, when their communication is not there, when there is no intimacy, that we don't want to have that. Also, it depends on where in our life we are, and there's nothing wrong with us if we are experiencing that. And also to notice that feminine desire is different and that we might need more stimulation. And actually, when we learn that we like certain things and we learn our way to get aroused, things can become really interesting and more pleasurable. Because like I said, we cannot go from 0 to 10 just snapping our fingers. We can learn about our bodies, we can learn about our desires, our pleasure, and then build up the sexual energy. And also connecting with our bodies will definitely help to also connect with our life force and our sexual energy. So there are many ways to do that, and that's not, of course, the point of this video today. I'm going to talk about that later in another video, but it's interesting to just know that whatever the construct of the society or whatever the ideas and the myth around sexual desire are, they don't apply necessarily to feminine bodies. So it's good to just acknowledge that, because now we're actually bombarded with all these videos about having a better sexual life and everybody wants that, but at the same time we need to respect where we are now in our lives. Wherever we are in our life, that's the start and that's perfect. There's nowhere to be. And so if we choose that we want really a pleasurable sex life, we really want to tap into our sexual energy, that's wonderful. But first, the basics. First, really taking care of what the issues are here. And then we can really expand, explore, be playful, and all of the things. As a matter of fact, this is how I work with my clients. So there are many issues. Sex is really a vast topic, and it's beautiful. And sometimes just knowing that where we are is fine actually can give us a relief, a sense of relief, and we can actually start exploring from there. So if you like this video, you can share with people who might be interested. If you are curious about how to work with me in mentorships one-on-one, you can also click the links below and connect with me on social media.